First story. My new girlfriend has a policy to never talk to service workers, so I handled it for her. But my entitled daughter humiliated my girlfriend, so I grounded her like my girlfriend wished, excluded her from our vacation, and then sent her away to make my girlfriend comfortable. Now my daughter won't talk to me. I, 47M, have been dating this amazing woman, Kayla, 33F, for just over a month now. I know that might sound fast to some people, especially when you've got a kid at home. But after losing my wife 5 years ago, it's taken me this long to meet someone I can actually see a future with. Kayla and I connected almost instantly. She's smart, driven, and honestly, she brings some much-needed spark back into my life. We've had a great month together, and I figured it was time for her to meet my daughter, Maddie, 12F. Now, before I go on, I'll say this. Parenting a preteen girl as a single dad hasn't been easy. Maddie's always been smart, too smart sometimes, and she's never really warmed up to the idea of me dating again. She puts her late mom on this pedestal, I get it, I do. But it's made her unfairly critical of any woman I even talk to. She's not rude outright, but you can always feel the judgment simmering under the surface. It's like she sees me moving on as some sort of betrayal, which is hurtful because I've tried so hard to do right by her these past 5 years. Anyway, Kayla and I planned a casual lunch so she and Maddie could meet in a neutral setting. I picked a family-friendly Italian place, not too fancy, not too loud, just somewhere easygoing. Now, here's where people might have opinions, but I'm going to explain. Kayla doesn't like dealing with waitstaff. She's had a lot of negative experiences in the past, especially in more casual places where the service tends to be, in her words, fake nice or judgmental. She's told me about times when waitresses have looked at her funny when she's asked for substitutions or when she ordered something unhealthy. According to her, there's always this subtle attitude like she's being annoying for just being a paying customer. And I get it. She's sensitive, and maybe she reads into things more than most. But everyone's got their thing, right? So, her way of dealing with it is simple. She doesn't talk to them. At all. She has the person she's with place her order, ask for anything she needs, handle the bill, etc. When we're out together, I just do the talking. I don't see the big deal. Some people have social anxiety. Others have quirks. This one barely even registers for me at this point. The lunch starts off okay. Maddie's being polite but quiet. Kayla makes an effort to chat with her, asks about school and what she's into lately, and Maddie answers. But the vibe is a little chilly. I expected it, honestly. First meetings are awkward, especially when there's that weird stepmom energy in the air. But I figured they'd warm up eventually. Then the waitress comes to take our orders. She's cheerful, maybe in her early 20s, and definitely one of those bubbly types. She smiles at Kayla and asks what she'd like. Kayla doesn't respond, she just looks at me, like we always do, and I tell the waitress what Kayla wants. That was the first moment I noticed Maddie narrow her eyes. She didn't say anything, but she definitely clocked it. We continue eating. The food's good, conversation's still a little stilted, but no one's arguing. Then midway through the meal, Kayla realizes she dropped her fork on the floor. She leans towards me and quietly says, "Can you ask for another one?" Again, normal for us. I've been doing this for weeks. So I wait until the waitress is nearby and say, "Hey, could we get another fork?" She nods and walks off. That's when Maddie suddenly speaks up. She says in a weirdly sharp tone, "Why doesn't Kayla just ask herself? The waitress is right there." I'm kind of stunned for a second. I give her a look and say, "Mads, we've talked about being polite, remember?" But she doesn't let it go. She keeps going. It's not impolite to say please to someone doing their job. You could at least look at her. Or thank her when she takes your plate. At this point, the busboy had just cleared Kayla's soup dish. And yeah, Kayla hadn't said anything. That's how she is. She doesn't do small talk with staff. And honestly, who cares? But Maddie was getting visibly upset. Then raised her voice and said, "They're all freaking human beings." And that's where it all starts to unravel. The second those words came out of her mouth, the whole restaurant got quiet. Not silent, it was embarrassing. Kayla went stiff, staring at her lap. The waitress, who had just come back with the fork, looked uncomfortable and did this polite laugh people do when they know there's tension, but don't want to get involved. I told Maddie, "Lower your voice." Straight, calm, not yelling. But she was already worked up. She said, "No, Dad, this is weird." She's acting like they're beneath her. Kayla finally speaks at this point, and she says, very flatly, "I don't like interacting with staff. I've explained this to your father." And instead of taking that like a normal explanation, Maddie rolls her eyes and says, "Okay, But you can still say thank you. You can say one word. It's not that hard. Kayla looked like she was going to cry. I could see her shutting down. Meanwhile, Maddie had that tone kids get when they think they've figured out some big moral truth, and they're now the sheriff of human ethics. I told the waitress to cancel the rest of the meal and pay the bill at the counter, and we left. The whole walk to the car was tense. Maddie kept her arms crossed, glaring, like she had been the one wronged in all this. The drive home was silent until we were a block from the house, and I finally said, "You were completely out of line back there." And she says, "I was standing up for people who work hard and don't deserve to be treated like they're invisible." She sounded proud of herself, like she thought everyone would applaud her speech. I told her, "You embarrassed Kayla in public. You embarrassed me. Your mother taught you to be kind, but she didn't teach you to police how other people act." That set her off even more. She throws the, "Well, Mom actually respected people" line, which is something she does when she wants to win a point without actually having a point. Anytime something doesn't go her way, she drags her mother's memory into it like a weapon. If I say I'm tired, she'll say her mom would have understood. If I cook dinner wrong, she'll say her mom did it better. It's become her go-to shield so no one can challenge her behavior. We get home. Kayla goes inside quietly. I tell Maddie she's grounded for a week, no phone, no sleepover she'd been planning, no extracurriculars except school. She immediately starts crying, yelling that I'm choosing Kayla over her, that this is proof I don't care what she thinks. Way over the top. Here's the thing. I love my daughter. But she's not a little kid anymore. She's at the age where she thinks she understands adult situations. But she doesn't. She sees everything in black and white. To her, if someone doesn't follow her exact worldview, they're bad or rude or selfish. There's no room for differences. Kayla's issue with waitstaff isn't her trying to act superior. It's anxiety. It's discomfort. Some people don't like interacting with strangers. Some people struggle socially. And honestly, the world doesn't collapse because one person asks their partner to handle ordering at a restaurant. Maddie made it into a personal morality campaign. Later that night, Kayla came to me and told me she didn't feel welcome. She said she felt judged and attacked by a 12-year-old. She said she didn't think she could be in a relationship where she felt unsafe being herself. And I had to reassure her for hours that she wasn't the problem. She was actually shaking when she told me this. I don't think I've seen someone that affected by a situation in a long time. Meanwhile, Maddie sulked in her room like she was the victim of some big injustice. The next morning, my sister calls me because apparently Maddie texted her from her iPad, which she wasn't supposed to be using in the first place. By the way, and now my sister is lecturing me about how I'm punishing my daughter for showing empathy. I told her straight. Empathy is good. Disrespect is not. There's a difference. And I do think there's something people aren't understanding here. You can disagree with how someone handles their anxiety without humiliating them in front of strangers. If Maddie had waited until we got home and said, "Hey, that made me uncomfortable," we could have talked. Calmly, rationally. But no, she had to make a scene. She had to perform morality for an audience. That's not empathy. That's self-righteousness. And now my sister is saying I'm choosing a woman I barely know over my daughter. But that's not it. I'm choosing respect and boundaries. I'm choosing not to raise a kid who thinks she can call people out whenever she wants for not fitting her personal standards. And honestly, I do love Kayla. I haven't said that to her yet, but I've said it to myself. I want her in my life. I want a future. I want companionship again. I don't want to live the rest of my life as the widower dad, whose identity is frozen in the past. I think part of what's happening is that Maddie can feel that this relationship is serious. And instead of handling it like a young adult, she's trying to sabotage it. I'm not raising a child who thinks screaming at someone is activism. Now the whole family group chat is involved. People are taking sides. I'm getting texts saying I'm blind, delusional, being manipulated, etc. A few are even acting like Kayla's behavior is some giant red flag. But again, they haven't met her. They're hearing about her through a kid who already decided she hates her before she even walked in the restaurant. So now I'm here. Because everyone says Reddit won't sugarcoat things. Fine. Don't sugarcoat. All I did was ask my daughter to show basic respect and not publicly attack someone over something she barely understands. Ada. Comments. Comment 1. YTA. I've worked in restaurants for 11 years. Let me just say this up front. Your girlfriend is not socially anxious. She's a control freak with a superiority complex. People with anxiety might stumble through interactions. avoid eye contact, and speak quietly. They don't silently glare at waiters and treat them like Siri with legs. Your daughter saw through that performative crap instantly. She didn't blow up because she's a rude tween. She blew up because she watched a grown-arse adult repeatedly refuse to acknowledge other humans like their background props. And what did you do? You punished her for having a moral compass. You keep talking like your daughter is immature. But guess what? She's the only one in that story who showed emotional intelligence. Your girlfriend couldn't even nod at a busboy. And you, a grown man, enabled it because you're chasing tail and too cowardly to call it what it is. Also, weaponizing her dead mum against her. Absolute low. You're raising a daughter who actually gives a SHT about people. And instead of nurturing that, you're grounding her for tone. Jesus. Comment 2. YTA. Your daughter didn't embarrass. Your girlfriend embarrassed herself by acting like a princess at a McDonald's. This whole setup is insane. Who the hell has a policy where they just don't talk to service workers? That's not a quirk. That's some narcissist-level delusion. And grounding a 12-year-old for reacting emotionally to that weird, dehumanizing behavior. Are you serious? You're out here praising Kayla's spark while punishing your own daughter's conscience. What are you teaching her? That women who mistreat people deserve your blind protection as long as they're hot and make you feel 20 again. You're not just enabling Kayla. You're sending a message loud and clear. Your feelings don't matter if they inconvenience my new girlfriend. She's 12. She's still building her framework for relationships and power dynamics. And you just modeled exactly how to betray someone who loves you because someone else gives you butterflies. You didn't ground her to teach her respect. You grounded her to shut her up because she made you uncomfortable. Be honest. Comment 3. NTA. Unpopular opinion. But I'm standing by you on this one. Your daughter may have a strong moral compass, but she's 12, and she handled it like a 12-year-old loudly, emotionally, and publicly. That's not okay. There's a way to address discomfort, and blowing up in the middle of a restaurant isn't it? Your girlfriend has a weird way of handling social situation, sure. Personally, I find it uncomfortable too. I always thank service workers. I make eye contact, but people deal with anxiety or past experiences differently. And unless she was being outright rude, snapping fingers, rolling eyes, etc., I don't think her quiet avoidance makes her a villain. What really matters here is that you tried to create a peaceful environment for an important first meeting, and your daughter turned it into a moral protest. That wasn't the time or place. The people screaming empathy for your daughter are ignoring the fact that your girlfriend is human too and deserves empathy for her boundaries, even if they're unconventional. She wasn't insulting anyone. She was coping. Your daughter could have spoken to you afterwards. She chose to create a scene. Consequences are part of growing up. Update. Thanks for the feedback on my original post. A lot of you clearly have strong opinions about parenting, and to be honest, I wasn't expecting this level of outrage over a basic disciplinary decision. Still, I read a lot of the responses and figured an update might be helpful for context, especially now that things have progressed. Let's just get this out of the way. No, I don't regret grounding my daughter. In fact, if I'm being honest, I probably went too easy on her. In the days after the restaurant incident, Maddie completely doubled down. No apology, no remorse. She acted like she was the one who got wronged. Gave me the silent treatment at home. Slammed doors. Rolled her eyes anytime Kayla's name came up. She even refused to come to dinner one night just because Kayla was over. She said she didn't want to sit across from someone who thinks waiters are robots. At that point, I realized this wasn't just a moment of immaturity, this was defiance. She thinks she's untouchable because people keep babying her over the loss of her mother. I've done everything I can to be patient with her grief, but there has to be a line. She doesn't get to treat people like garbage and then hide behind the dead mum card every time someone calls her out. Kayla, for her part, has been completely composed. She hasn't lashed out once. She told me calmly that she doesn't feel safe being around someone who openly disrespects her and refuses to acknowledge her as part of the picture. She didn't give ultimatums, she just said she couldn't be around that kind of energy until it's addressed. And no, she's not abusive, no matter how many Reddit armchair psychologists love that word. She's not controlling, she doesn't shout, and she doesn't insult Maddie. She's just socially awkward, especially with new people and especially in situations where she feels judged. That's not abuse. That's called being human. Anyway, after a couple more days of cold stares and passive-aggressive one-liners from Maddie, I decided the grounding wasn't enough. I sat her down and explained that since she's clearly not ready to be respectful under the same roof as Kayla, She would not be joining us on our planned weekend trip to Lake Geneva. This was supposed to be our first blended family getaway, low pressure, fun, neutral territory. She called it punishment for having values, which again shows she hasn't learned a damn thing. So I made the call. She'd stay with my sister for the weekend. My sister agreed, but not without lecturing me about how Maddie feels displaced. I told her respectfully that I'm done parenting by committee. If she wants to raise a 12-year-old who gets to yell at strangers in restaurants, be my guest. The weekend with Kayla was actually really good. Peaceful, drama-free, and the first time in weeks where I didn't feel like I was walking on eggshells in my own house. We got time to talk seriously about the future, and she mentioned that maybe it's time we started living together full-time. Financially, it makes sense. Emotionally, it's time. We're not getting any younger. Maddie is old enough to adjust. So, yes, Kayla will be moving in by the end of next month. Now here's where things took a turn. Before all this, I had lined up therapy sessions for Maddie, thinking maybe she needed help navigating this phase. I'm not an idiot, I know kids internalize stuff. I thought a neutral party might help her work through whatever resentment she was carrying. After just 3 sessions, the therapist called me to say she was concerned about the home dynamic and suggested we pause sessions until Maddie has more agency in her environment. She basically told me in a roundabout, condescending way that Maddie wasn't the one who needed counseling. I said, "So what? You want me to sit in therapy because my daughter disrespected my girlfriend and I held her accountable?" She said something about emotional safety and power imbalances, and I told her thanks but no thanks. We're not doing the parents apologize for enforcing rules thing in this house. That's how you raise entitled adults who think every consequence is trauma. A few days later, Maddie asked if she could stay with my sister for a while. I asked what a while meant, and she said, until Kayla moves out. So I told her she could stay for 2 weeks. Get her space. Clear her head. Maybe learn to reflect without everyone around her co-signing her martyr complex. I even sent her with her laptop, her school stuff, and her iPad, which she swore she'd only use for school. We'll see. My sister made a whole thing about how she's just trying to give her a safe environment. Whatever. I need peace in my house. Meanwhile, Kayla's been helping me rearrange the guest room into a home office, and honestly, it feels good. Feels like progress. She's been cooking dinner, helping me stay on top of stuff, and she's even trying to be proactive about future interactions with Maddie, suggesting neutral activities, shared hobbies, etc. She's trying. That's more than I can say for anyone else in this situation. Also, and this might shut some of you up, I ran into Kayla's ex totally random, at a mutual acquaintance's BBQ. We talked for, like, 10 minutes, and he mentioned that, yeah, she always hated restaurants. Said she used to have panic attacks after bad experiences in her early 20s. She said she always asked him to order for her too. So all your red flag comments. Turns out, you were just dead wrong. She's not rude, she's wired differently. That's it. I'm just confused why everyone thinks it's okay for a 12-year-old to humiliate a grown woman in public and suffer 0 consequences. When did basic respect become optional if you're under 18? I love my daughter. I will always love her. But love doesn't mean accepting behavior that hurts other people. Comments. Comment 1. You know what? You're not the bad guy. You're the worst kind of guy. You didn't write this post because you're seeking fairness. You wrote it to justify a slow-motion abandonment of your daughter. You took a girl who had one emotional outburst, based on witnessing real, visible dehumanization, and turned that into a narrative about her being manipulative, entitled, and a threat to your relationship. Let's talk about Kayla. Socially awkward, my arse. She's not just avoiding small talk, she's refusing to acknowledge people serving her. That's not anxiety, man. That's contempt in a sundress. And you say she didn't give you ultimatums. Bullshit. You grounded your daughter, then escalated it, because Kayla told you she felt unsafe. That's the quiet version of an ultimatum. And you're so eager to keep Kayla happy that you tossed your kid out like old furniture. Let me put it plainly. Your daughter's not broken. You are. And if you don't pull your head out of your girlfriend's insecurity cloud, you're going to lose her for good, not because Reddit told you so, but because she sees exactly who you are when it matters. Comment 2. Holy projection, Batman. Reading this update felt like watching a dude slowly dismantle his own relationship with his daughter, while giving himself gold stars for it. You are pathologizing a 12-year-old's grief. Her acting cold, distant. That's not defiance, that's a kid trying to protect herself after her reality got shaken again. This time by a woman she can't even emotionally connect with. When a licensed professional says you're part of the problem, and you just drop them. That's peak avoidance. You don't want help. You want validation. You want a therapist who'll tell you. Yes, your daughter needs to respect your totally normal girlfriend who can't ask for a goddamn fork. Let me make it clear. Kayla isn't the issue because she has anxiety. She's the issue because she refuses to grow around it. She makes it everyone else's problem. And you're signing off on that, at your daughter's expense. This whole update reeks of insecurity masquerading as boundaries. You want to fix your home? Start with yourself. Comment 3. I'm going to be the minority here and say you do have a point, but not the one you think. You're right that kids need consequences. They also need structure, and you've got zero. You talk like you're running a household, but everything in your story screams, man reacting to chaos. You're grounding your daughter one day, then sending her away the next. Why? Because Kayla doesn't feel safe. What the hell does that even mean in this context? Was Maddie physically aggressive? No. She raised her voice once in a restaurant. Everything since then is you reacting to adult discomfort like it's a threat. You're letting Kayla dictate your emotional priorities. Your daughter isn't perfect, but she's a kid. She's still forming. And instead of helping her adjust with you, you outsourced the conflict and now act like her absence makes life peaceful. Of course it does. You removed the only person holding up a mirror. Enjoy your calm house. But don't be surprised when the silence turns permanent. Update. So it has been just over 2 months since I posted my update. A lot has happened, and honestly, I still don't understand how people can twist things into some dramatic abuse narrative, when what's going on here is just parenting and adjusting to new family dynamics. But I'll lay out what happened clearly so people can stop projecting. After that first update, Maddie stayed with my sister for 2 weeks. My sister kept implying that I pushed her out, which is ridiculous because Maddie was the one who asked to go. I gave her the space she said she needed. Then, she texted asking if she could come home. I saw that as a mature step acknowledging that sometimes distance helps. I told her, of course, the door is always open. When she came back, I approached things calmly. I didn't bring up the girlfriend conflict. I didn't force bonding. I let the house be neutral territory. Kayla also handled it well. She gave Maddie space, didn't insert herself, and didn't push conversation. It was fine. And honestly, things actually were better for a while. One night, I made spaghetti for dinner and stopped at the store to get the cranberry juice. Maddie likes she's picky about brands. I didn't think anything of it, just a regular dinner. But she sat down, took a sip, and said, "Thanks for getting the right one." Just that. Normal tone. And to me, that was proof that the distance and consequences worked. She came back more grounded. I even told Kayla that night that I was considering ending the grounding early. I meant it as a sign of good faith and wanting to rebuild. I think a lot of parents online forget that firm boundaries aren't the same thing as cruelty. Firm parenting is still legal last time I checked. Then things shifted again once Kayla slowly started integrating into the household routine. Nothing harsh, just normal responsibilities. Maddie has never had many chores at home. I'll be honest, I was lenient because of everything we went through after her mother passed. I didn't want to see her struggle. But she's 12. She can rinse a plate and wipe down a counter. Kayla asked her one afternoon to bring her laundry hamper downstairs because she was already doing a load. That's it. A neutral request. Maddie's whole demeanor reverted. Eye roll, slammed hamper, muttering under her breath. Not explosive, but dismissive. Like something as basic as running a house together was beneath her. This didn't happen just once. It became a pattern. Whenever Kayla asked anything directly, not chores, just daily functioning, Maddie would do it with attitude, like she was being dog-walked. Then, a few days later, I found out what was fueling that attitude. Kayla came to me literally shaking. She had just seen a post Maddie made online, some kind of private vent, or whatever, where she wrote that Kayla acts like a discount stepmom version of a dictator who loves power trips and tries to replace mom, but doesn't have the personality or depth to pull it off. She also implied that I like women who are weak so I can control them. That is not just a kid venting. That is character assassination. And yes, it was humiliating for Kayla. She's been trying, step by step, to form a neutral coexistence. And she gets blasted on a platform where kids and strangers pile on and turn her into some villain. So I made the call to restrict her internet access. Not forever. Just until she could understand that words have consequences. Social media isn't therapy. Broadcasting private home dynamics online isn't processing feelings. It's disrespectful. It's escalation. This was the second time she publicly embarrassed Kayla, first in a restaurant, now on the internet, and I genuinely thought this time she'd reflect. Because she promised, literally promised, she wouldn't do that again. When I told her she was losing social media for a month, she said, "So you're punishing me for having feelings again?" No. I'm holding her accountable for how she expresses them. Then Kayla and I announced our engagement. Some people will say we rushed it, but when you know. Life is short. I've already spent 5 years grieving. I am allowed to move forward. A family is allowed to evolve. Maddie didn't say a word. She just stood up, walked down the hallway, grabbed a backpack, put some clothes in it, and called her grandparents. 10 minutes later, she walked past me to the driveway without looking at either of us. Her grandparents showed up and acted like paramedics during a crisis. It was over the top. My mother-in-law gave me a look like I was something scraped out of the bottom of a sink trap. Didn't say a word to Kayla. Maddie is now staying with them indefinitely. My in-laws are telling everyone I drove her out. That's not what happened. She left because she didn't get her way. Again. And everyone keeps jumping to worst-case narratives. She's scared. She's being bullied in her own home. She's being replaced. No. She just doesn't want to adapt to change. Every time life asks something of her emotionally, she runs. I keep hearing people say, "Well, in a vacuum it looks like you and Kayla are ganging up on her." And that's honestly frustrating. Because we are not yelling, threatening, insulting, or belittling her. We are holding boundaries. We are maintaining basic household respect. We are functioning adults in a home that requires structure. People want to see villains. They need the story to be dramatic. They want Kayla to be wicked and me to be cold-hearted. But we're not. We're just trying to build a life. And right now, that life no longer includes Maddie in the home. I really don't know what I'm supposed to do. If she comes back, I'll welcome her. If she stays away, I'll give her space. But I'm not apologizing for parenting. Comments. Comment 1. I'll tell you exactly what happened here because you seem lost. You misread compliance as healing. When your daughter came back, was quiet, said, "Thanks for the juice," and didn't fight, you took that as progress. But that was shut down. That was a kid who learned, very quickly, that expressing distress in your house leads to punishment. So she went quiet. Not better. Quiet. Then Kayla started introducing chores. Not because they needed doing, but to test dominance. You even described it, she waited until she felt safe. Then started asserting authority over the kid. That's classic step-parent power positioning. Your daughter clocked it instantly. Kids are unbelievably good at reading unspoken power dynamics. Then she posted about how it felt. And instead of thinking, "Oh wow, she feels replaced and unseen," you interpreted it as slander and doubled down. The engagement announcement right after that was your nuclear button. You told her, without saying it, "This is your replacement mother. Fall in line." And when she refused, she was removed from the home, whether you admit that part or not. You didn't just lose your daughter. You taught her you're not a safe person to come to when she's hurting. Comment 2. Coming from someone who was your daughter in this exact situation, you are absolutely blind to the long-term consequences here. You think she's running away from problems now. But just wait. You've taught her. Her feelings are inconvenient. Adults' comfort matters more than her emotional safety. Expressing pain gets punished. Love is conditional on compliance. And you know what kids do with those lessons? They get quiet. They get small. They disappear in ways that you won't notice until it's too late. When she's 17, she won't come to you when something terrible happens. When she's 22, you'll find out things from Facebook instead of phone calls. When she gets married, she'll send an invitation out of obligation, not desire. You think you're building a family with Kayla. But what you're really building is a future where your daughter protects herself from you. And look, I don't doubt you love her. I don't even think you're an uncaring monster. I think you're a man who's drowning and clinging to the first adult hand offered to him, even if it means letting go of the smaller hand still trying to hold on. You can fix this. But not by waiting for her to calm down. You have to be the one to go to her. Because she has already learned that she can't come to you. Second story. My wife cheated with her coworker, made jokes about me being their CCK, and now she is blaming me for not making her desirable, and begging me not to ruin her coworker's family when he just had a newborn, and is trying her best to please me. A few days ago, I noticed my wife deleting a text thread, which is something she has never done. I decided to check her laptop, as texts go through there, and I was shocked to find that she was having a sexually explicit conversation with a coworker who also happens to be married, and just had a child a few months ago. For context, we have been together for about 13 years and married for 4. We both work in demanding jobs in healthcare. Like any couple, we have had plenty of ups and downs. The last couple of years have really been a rut. It has felt like we are constantly more irritable with each other. Our intimacy has been nearly dead for a while now. However, we both felt this may be part of the depression and hormonal issues that we are having and working on. Another issue that bothers me is that for the entirety of our relationship, she has made jabs at how men always cheat, and I will someday cheat on her. Her previous relationship before me ended with her BF, living a complete second life with a different woman. She used to go through my phone when she felt I was texting a particular female too much. Given all that, this current situation just enraged me. This coworker of hers has always been a close friend for the last 3 years. It's been obvious in the past that he has had a crush on my wife, but I have never seen any evidence that it was reciprocated. He has sent suggestive texts in the past, and she had shut it down and insisted he likes to get a rise out of people. In the last few days, I have seen texts of the two of them complaining about their sex lives, talking about how much they want to have sex with each other, sending naked pics, etc. He has even sent an explicit photo with part of his wife's face in it, claiming he wishes it was my wife. There has been a lot of complaining about me and about his partner and how we do not sexually gratify them. She has been trying to stay on top of deleting threads, but often does not think to delete the stuff from bedtime to overnight. I am fairly confident nothing physical has happened yet. Part of me feels guilty for this. I have not been a perfect husband by any means. I have always been the one to do all the chores at home, care for the pets, cook, do our laundry, etc. I will admit, though, that I am not the most emotionally available husband. I'm just not a cuddler or an overly sexual person. I understand this affair is her choice and not mine, but I do feel like I've pushed her into this, and I feel the guilt of it. My problem is that I do not know how to approach this. At first I was shocked and angry. Now I am numb and emotionless. Part of me feels the writing was on the wall for this marriage a while ago. And this is the final blow. Our family lives are insanely intertwined, and we literally share the same friend group. I don't know if I should just be trying to move out and figure things out, or if I should just be getting a divorce at this point. I know I will be gaslit when I finally confront her, and I don't even know how to confront her. I also don't know if I should tell the other guy's wife. I feel guilty given that they just had a baby. Reading this back, I understand I probably look like an idiot for not already having left. But I am struggling. Edit. We do not have kids, just pets. The relationship has felt like it was going south for a few years now. But this was completely unexpected. I truly do not know if this is something I can forgive and move past or not. Edit 2. Another big issue of mine is the amount of disrespect thrown at me in those chats that she laughed along at. Me, washing her panties that got soaked, or making them dinner while he blows her back out. I don't know if that's something I will ever get over. I'm a non-confrontational, pretty go-with-the-flow guy. But these jokes are pretty foul. Even if I get over the sexting crap, it is hard to process how she can laugh along at stuff like that. Comments. Comment 1. An emotional affair is just a physical affair that hasn't gotten physical yet. Here's the deal, my guy. Cheating is a choice. If the marriage is no longer working for her, she could have chosen to communicate that to you or chosen to file for divorce and move on. Instead, she sought out an emotional affair and chose to cheat on you. Stop acting like this is your fault. Cheating is never the fault of the person who got cheated on. Even if the relationship is not as good as it could be, the choice to cheat, and it is a choice, falls on the person who chose to step outside of monogamy instead of trying to fix the problems or simply moving on. File for divorce. Move on with your life. And stop beating yourself up. Marriages fail for all sorts of reasons. But none of those reasons justify cheating. Comment 2. I'm sorry, man. As a divorced man, I can tell you, divorce is not only the right option, it is the only option. I know how it feels. I know how much you desire to fix this and make this work. But sorry, it is over. You are just in denial. The first stage is always denial. Also, if your intimacy has gone to 0, her affair has already gone physical. Wake up from denial into the second stage. Anger. Anger will give you the strength to do what you must. Good luck, man. Update. I ended up having the confrontation early last week. It wasn't exactly when I had planned it, but she knew something was up, as I had emotionally checked out over the few days leading up to it. Some background info I learned was not provided in the original post. The texting had gone on for about a week in total. It turns out I had discovered it pretty early on. Although they have texted a lot for the last few years, I've seen them in the past. And there was nothing like this genuinely just work-related stuff. There were also a lot of remarks about the intimacy between us fizzling out, indicating that it may be a sign of the affair being physical. Our intimacy has dried out for the last year or so. We had chalked it up to stress, work, hormones, and depression up to this point. In terms of the confrontation, there was no arguing or fireworks. I laid out a lot of grievances about the betrayal and the incredible disrespect I felt. I also pointed out the rage I felt over the hypocrisy of accusing all men of cheating for years. She swore up and down that nothing physical occurred between them. I get it is naive of me to believe it, but for various reasons I do. When I initially threatened to tell the other guy's wife, that was when the first wave of defensiveness began. She begged me not to ruin their family with a new baby and focus on fixing our marriage instead. I was also told how the OBS will definitely tell all their coworkers, and now both her home life and work life will be ruined. They are both contractually bound to working together for the next 5 years residency. Her reasoning was that I have not made her feel desired like a woman in a long time. That she gave into hormones, as he was saying things that made her feel craved. Multiple times I did feel like the situation was minimized. Statements such as, "Nothing physical happened. It was just as texting," have not sat well with me. I also felt like I was being blamed for this. To clarify, we have talked in the past about trying to be more romantic and stuff of that sort. I still feel like that does not mean doing this crap is acceptable. I admitted plenty of my shortcomings during the confrontation, but also reaffirmed that what she did was so insanely wrong. I also reached out to the guy. He was clearly panicked and swore up and down nothing physical happened. He begged me not to tell his wife and ruin his life. He claimed his son is his entire world, which I rebuffed by saying all he did was complain about him to my wife. Not long after, he blocked me on everything and was texting my wife to not let your husband move out, and is he going to ruin my life now? I wish I could say that I took my pets and stormed off and moved out like I dreamt up in my head. Sadly, all I did was move out of our room and demand time and space. She has been saying she will respect that, but has been persistently approaching me, asking to talk about our marriage for the last several days. My emotions have ranged from complete rage to completely dead inside. I have just been working, or in the bed, sleeping for 14 hours a day at this point. I know I'm checked out at this point. I've been fighting passive self-harming ideation, wishing for a car to crash into me, or just to not wake up. I can assure all that I have no active plans of self-harm, and that is not the point of this post. I feel like my entire life has been turned upside down. I recently established with a therapist for the first time in my life plenty of childhood trauma from terrible parents, and she has been telling me that I am mourning a life I thought I had. Truthfully, I am just over all of this and everything. I have definitely just got into self-protection mode now. A few days ago, she asked me if I would be willing to see a marriage counselor with her. I begrudgingly agreed. During our first session, I admitted I am unsure if I want to save this marriage or not. I was not a very active participant, as I was quite checked out. It had only been like 3 days since the confrontation. We have more appointments coming up. I have told her that I am unsure I will ever get over this betrayal. I have also told her it is clear we have significant incompatibilities. She has been begging me to try, as we have been together for so long, so clearly, something works about us. She has been trying to be affectionate the last couple of days and getting me to reciprocate, hold her hand, give a kiss, compliment her, etc. I have not told the other guy's wife yet. I have not decided if I will or won't. Morally, I know the absolutely correct decision is to tell her. However, as mad as I am at my wife, I am not trying to just ruin her entire life. I am not out to get revenge on people. I grew up with enough confrontation, and am definitely a non-confrontational person now. I have also not ruled out telling her yet, but am just thinking on it. I apologize for how much this post is just a rambling mess. All in all, emotionally I feel dead inside. I have lost all joy in my life, and am just doing the motions. I do not know if I will be able to get over this to save the marriage, and I do not know if I want to save the marriage. Our lives are just so intertwined that splitting will be such a difficult and miserable process. My closest friend is the only person who knows, and they have made it clear that divorce would be their only choice if they were in my shoes. I am lucky to have had their support during this, but I do feel guilty for just trauma dumping this situation. I know most replies will be that I should have already started the divorce process, and I wish it was that easy. I will value advice, and I know quite a few people had asked for updates. I definitely missed a lot of info and will try to reply as I can. Thank you. Edit. For clarification, yes, I have a large chunk of these texts documented and saved. I do not know if I will ever get over this. When I told her that I don't know if I'll ever get past this, she told me how she knows that I hold grudges against people, referencing my poor relationship with my parents these days. I definitely feel like there's been minimizing of the situation, but she frames it as trying to move forward and learn from the situation. Edit 2. I also just learned that he texted her last night to complain about some work situation to her. I was told they were completely done speaking to each other, but it turns out the only person getting blocked is him blocking me after I confronted him. Edit 3. The sentiment is pretty clear. How intertwined our lives are makes the prospect of splitting that much more miserable. Our families are very close now. We share the same group of friends and work in the same hospital. I think the cowardice of dealing with all that is definitely affecting my thinking. Edit 4. For the people who keep asking, we live in nice. Also, for the people who are just messaging me super hateful stuff, I would appreciate not getting that crap. I recognize I'm not thinking straight right now. Comments. Comment 1. Please don't ruin our lives. Say the people whose actions are the sole reason why their lives would be ruined. You have said yourself that you don't know if you'll ever be able to get over this betrayal. Is it still raw? Sure, but if anything, I think that's more of a push for you to at least have a trial separation from her. I agree that it sounds more like you're mourning the life you thought you had than your actual relationship. At this point, don't keep going through the motions just to make her happy. She sure as hell didn't care about your feelings when she started this whole mess. And forget their begging and guilt tripping. They made their bed. They can lie in it. The obs also deserves to know. Who says the guy didn't have other relationships that would put the health of both her and her baby in danger? Comment 2. They are both contractually bound to working together for the next 5 years residency. The bare minimum in order to reconcile is for her to change jobs and go full NC. Get your head out of your arse and tell the obs, tell everyone, family and friends, to keep this in the dark and give 1-2 weeks, and they will be back at it. Don't rug sweep this, because she will walk all over you again. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.